everybody. Hello. Welcome. Really just delighted to have you here with me today. And I'm over the moon, excited for our guest. I really
Oh.
Oh, the one and only, my dear friend and our most esteemed colleague, Dr. Kasia Kines. Welcome, Kasia. How are you?
Welcome, everyone. I am so excited about this community. We need you out there working with EBV, helping those thousands of people.
Oh my goodness. So much opportunity we're going to talk about today to help people, right?
Yeah, totally.
I love it. Okay, so again, welcome to those of you that are joining us live, and also anyone joining us on the replay. Delighted to have you here with me today, and I know Dr. Kasia is as well. So, guys, let me give you a quick overview on really what we're going to talk about today. So, the first thing I wanted to do is just give you a quick rundown on Dr. Kasia Kines' very impressive resume, or her bio. So I'm going to let her tell you a little bit more about her story and evolution into this space. But for the official bio, let's go ahead and take a peek. So Dr. Kines is the CEO and founder of Global Epstein-Barr Virus Institute. And she is a leader in recovery therapy for chronic EBV, an author, wellness expert, and highly respected doctor of clinical nutrition, and a graduate of the prestigious Bastyr University. And since 2005, Dr. Kines has built an international reputation as a functional nutritionist, from being sought after by Johns Hopkins University to her groundbreaking Amazon bestseller book, Epstein-Barr Virus Solution. So, wow, welcome. And I'm really just so excited. Kasia is a great friend of mine, and so I'm just happy to spend a little time chatting.
Oh my gosh, anytime. Anything for you, my dear. Anytime, anything.
I love it. This is way overdue, right?
Yes.
All right. So we are going to have a great conversation today. And obviously, you can probably guess the topic is EBV. Why do you need to screen your complex patients for Epstein-Barr virus? So let's go ahead and just jump right in. I think you guys are going to get just a ton of value from our conversation today. So I'd love to start by Kasia, again, welcome.
Oh my God.
If you could give us kind of an overview on how you ended up specializing in this very unique area.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, the student is ready.
I know it was a journey.
The teacher appears. Yeah, that was a journey. So there are a couple of layers. One is more spiritual and intentional, and one is just physical. So the spiritual personal journey is that I had a very close friend in Poland who out of the blue was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And when I immigrated to the States, the journeys were parallel. She started to fight her fight, and I started to live my life here. I came here with two suitcases, a hat, a guitar, and a cat.
Wait, did you say a cat?
Yes, a cat.
Awesome. Okay, so the cat, which is great.
Yeah, so she died. We lost her, and I was already a nutritionist. That's my second career when we lost her, and her son was afraid to tell me for months that she was gone. It's like, oh, but I couldn't go because I was here. My life was complicated. And so I always had this hole in my heart, and always was asking the question why. Even as a nutritionist, I just couldn't do anything for her. What is it? So that's just the one intention that I had. I just needed the answer. Eventually, I asked a friend who was a medical intuitive. I was just asking the question, and she confirmed that it was EBV as part. Now we have studies saying that it's a prerequisite to MS. That's what some studies say. It's MS is more complicated, but. And so another layer is that there was in my clinical practice, as you know, and as you the viewers know, when your heart is in the right place, you pursue the functional aspect of medicine, nutrition. You end up being the last resort for people. You end up having all these complex cases. You end up moving mountains together. These people are not sick for the lack of trying. These are amazing people you just want to help. And there's some cases when you just hit the wall. And the longer you do that, because my practice was evolving, towards almost 2 decades, like the more kind of demoralizing it becomes, because you can help 100, but there's this 1 or 2. And you just think about that person and you have the burning question is, why can't we move that person forward, right? Everybody has these stories.
Yeah, right? It really makes you feel crummy.
Oh my gosh, it makes you, like an imposter.
Yeah, it gives.
Who am I? And so
absolutely.
Absolutely, yes. And so there was this day, I always did my best, like we all do, and most times I could crack it. And there was this day, a week, I would say, 3 different patients of mine were asking me, well, could you give me like an educated opinion on this book? And the book was, of course, Medical Medium.
Oh, right.
I don't have time to read. I had no time for anything. But 3 people in a row, I was like, oh, people will continue asking me. I have this responsible. I have to know. So I bought the book. I knew I was going to a conference. So on the plane, can't go anywhere. I might as well take it. So I have to say, if I could on that plane, I would have fallen off the chair, because when I started to read, he's kind of black and white, and that's okay. But the stories I was reading, these were the stories of my patients. The ones that I remember that I couldn't have, like, oh my gosh. And Marlena, my friends, like, oh. And so I was thinking, even if 50% of this is true,
right?
I fly back home and the rest is history. Because I just decided, okay, here's the guy who says a spirit of compassion downloads things for him. And this is what he says. He has absolutely no nutrition background and so on and so forth. And here's the medical community. And you can imagine their attitude to a spiritual download. Who is this guy? I have a solid medical practice. What is this? So there's this sea of divide between those extremes.
Yeah.
And I soon realized that this medical paradigms is extreme because it's outdated. It's painfully outdated. So basically, I went home and I started to just do medical research. That's all I did. And I started with dissecting the lab testing and interpretation. There's a lot of medical literature on it. It is so convoluted. It was such a hot mess that this is where I started, and we started to ask for testing. And so that's how it started to evolve. So I just spent hours and hours digging into medical literature, and I decided, okay, here's one extreme. They're really obsolete. They don't have time to read medical literature. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know about EBV. They don't understand. That's not their fault. That's just what it is. There's a medical medium with the big claims, and there's a nothingness between. And all these millions of people, because there's millions of people actually sick. So it's like, okay, so my job will be to bridge the gap, bring medical literature, create solid evidence-based methodology, if one exists. And so I pursued that because I felt that's my responsibility. If I don't do it, who's going to do it? Because I started to patch things together and be quite aggressive with protocols, and things started to turn around for people. To the point where I was pinching myself, like, is it just placebo? What is this? What is this? But this was based on medical studies. So it's like, keep going. And mind you, best training in the country. And the only time I studied anything about this virus was one time in my doctoral degree program. Dr. Vasquez was invited to teach us one module, and part of that module was virology. His like 1,200-page book.
It was under neurology.
400 pages for viruses, a little bit here and there about EBV. Not like he didn't see the picture. He didn't get it. But he had some foundational stuff, aggressive, ideas about supplementation, like therapeutic doses and stuff like that, like very high selenium. It's like, ooh, within the safety limits. So I just pursued that and started to build that and tweak it and went more for medical literature. And so we have a complete protocol, complete methodology, and people are reverse engineering it. Whether it's lupus or Hashimoto's, they're just gaining their lives back. It's amazing. And then people come out of the woodwork over the years. And the tragedy of this condition, it's so insidious, it's so complex, it breeds anxiety, it disables people. It is awful.
It's awful.
And it's completely under the radar. And so I think, and the two things I want to say for all of you guys, when you look at medical literature, these are studies. Scientists are saying, if you have those complex cases, you've done everything, and the patient is not responding to the protocols that normally should be working, you need to test for chronic EBV. One study. Another study says, if you have a chronically ill patient and it's idiopathic, you can't figure out why all this is happening, you need to test for chronic EBV. And lo and behold, when you start connecting the dots, you have the opportunity to totally even run your clinic just on EBV. You would be busy.
Wow.
So you can totally, yes.
Amazing.
We need you guys to do that because I'm alone. I just trained a few doctors. They're doing great. I hear stories. I have an MS patient that is turning around. He thought he was stuck with it forever. And, it really is happening. We got it. I have all the resources and trainings. I need people to go out there and help.
So, Kasia, I don't know if I ever shared this personal story with you, and I might have, but I'm going to kind of share it with the world right now. So you may recall that I had a lot of issues with chronic mold exposure.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh yeah, many years, and it was so hard.
Yeah.
So I was going through that, going to doctor after doctor, like, I know there's something wrong. And they'd look at me and go, you're fine. Look at you. You're fine. Right?
Yeah. Look at you. You look so, yeah.
Right. I'm like, but I don't think I'm really fine. I know there's something going on here. Anyway, so I went to a functional medicine doctor, another one, and he actually ran some different labs, and he said, well, one of the things you have is chronic active EBV.
Smart doctor, smart. Yes. That's very right. That's awesome.
So yeah, so basically the way I'm interpreting it was that the mold just trashed my immune system, and this virus kind of reared its ugly head again as a result, right?
Yes, exactly. I don't know if I told you that exact thing happened to me.
Oh my goodness. You
yes.
EBV queen?
I'm EBV queen. Last fall, I finally tested because I saw some symptoms coming. I have very particular symptoms. And this was because we were moving like 9 months, 11 months from house to house with mold. And I was luckier than you because, most people can't pinpoint that it's mold. For me, my skin immediately starts burning, hurting. I look like a lizard. I can't open my mouth. It's cracking. It's just in my face. I have to move out.
Okay.
I mean, I spent 2 Christmases in hotels, like one after the other. I remediated, I sold, I bought, I remediated. This house is the 3rd house. So last fall, I had the 2nd water damage in the house we bought to escape mold. The first was remediated. The second I couldn't find. I didn't know that it was coming. Like there was something iffy about the bath, the toilet. I didn't even connect the dots. Nothing was smelling. Nothing was showing. Even I just didn't even think about it. But I ended up in the ER because my skin was just,
Oh gosh.
yes, it was awful. So so I tested first time and I was just about positive. And so the thing is,
For EBV.
oh yeah. Yeah, and then since then I have a different baseline. So since then I reactivated 2-3 times. One time when we moved here, the mold inspector missed mold.
Yeah, they do that.
I have to find it and remediate. And so before I found it, this office actually, I developed vertigo because of smart meter. I was waiting for it to be removed. I was a little too close and da 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 da. So vertigo, like first time in my life. So I know, I don't panic. I just get on my bundle, which is the aggressive, like this is the go-to when you get reactivation. And so it's amazing. It does work. It takes me about 2 days.
Okay.
2 days.
Great.
And then I turn it off. And so that's what I teach my people.
Trigger, right? Like, I mean, for like you and I, we're very highly triggered by mold exposure, right? What specifically water damage. We're not really talking about like outdoor molds.
Correct.
That's like a different pathway altogether. We're
All
talking
together. You can be in the woods, smelling all the fungus and doing well. Yes.
exactly. It's and that water damage is really, really hard. Like it can be so hard to find. Like you know
Oh,
it's there.
yeah. How many cases in our communities we would have conversations, the protocol is working, 40, 60%. The person's doing everything right. And we're talking, so I keep asking questions about the household, the environment. It's like everything points to the mold. You have mold somewhere.
Okay.
3 months down the road, it's like, no. We don't have any mold. We don't have any mold. No, because it's not sexy. No, I don't want to know about mold. I still had a little bit of damage there, but I stopped the water. So it's like, I have to go to the bathroom. But the point is, 3 months later, she texted me. It's like, okay, my husband found it in the kitchen. So from that point, she signed up with a functional doctor locally. She did the whole thing, remediation, and she's fine. But mold is one of those triggers where, and it's nice to know that you have a predictable, evidence-based protocol. It works like magic. I mean, I said 2 days because I have a baseline. My baseline, I have all the bricks already built. I have like antiviral lifestyle. So that's what I teach my students. So, you will get to the point where you just need 48 hours when it comes back. It's not like when you're a new beginner, it's not going to take you 2 days. You have to build on it. But, what do I always say? Oh yeah. So it's a predictable process.
Yeah.
If we have a hiccup, mold is one of the things we're looking for. Mold, Wi-Fi technology, combination of Wi-Fi and mold is what I had here.
Oh, okay.
And so Wi-Fi, mold, and EBV, very bad combination.
So, because most people have had EBV, right? Most
Most of us are born with it. I mean, it's insidious. It's 95% of global population. It doesn't, and this is common question. Most people in our community have spouses, but spouses mostly are not, they're not sick.
Okay.
It could be because it's contagious and stuff, but they're not sick. They have different immune system.
So what we're talking about is like the reemergence of the virus becoming active again, right?
Correct. It's an opportunist.
It's an opportunist type of virus. Okay. So like if there's undue stress, maybe for some people, Wi-Fi could be a trigger. Mold could be, like those toxins that really mess with the immune system could be a trigger for the virus to rear its ugly head, right? And
so you can have big triggers. So the biggest trigger is stress, and that's very well documented in medical literature, to the point where we have a joke about astronauts. The astronauts, the cream of the cream, they have a higher likelihood of reactivating in space. So I talked to NASA scientists because I saw a study on it, and I was like, what do you do? It's like, oh yeah, we have a cover, we have a protocol. They take antiviral medication prophylactically. It's like, what? They already know that.
Okay.
So stress is really number one. But you know, the weirdest thing is, it's like almost like the virus feeds on lack of equilibrium. When you, even things like our spiritual, personal, emotional, when you can't speak your freedom, when you can't express who you are, when you are oppressed,
Wow.
when you overstretch, overwork because you don't have good boundaries because you're overgiver.
Okay.
You have thin skin. You are an empath.
Oh,
You
yeah.
are type A personality, overachiever. We have a joke in our community. Welcome to the Overachiever Anonymous International Type A Personality Club. So, you know, we work on not being a perfectionist, letting go, because all this creates stress.
Mm-hmm.
And stress is like the door to EBV.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Let's talk a little bit. Oh, I was going to say, let's talk a little bit about, why every functional practitioner really would benefit from screening their patients or clients for EBV. So, what are your
very,
thoughts on that?
yes, very good
Well,
point.
quite illuminating when, my doctor said, yeah, it's, chronic active, right?
Yes.
And
So,
it's good to get some answers.
oh my gosh. So, you know, in the pursuit of wellness for our patients, we always look for the root causes. That's functional medicine, functional nutrition, right?
Yeah.
Why the heck do we have lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, you know, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes type 1? Oh yes, the immune system just turns on itself and attacks itself because it wants to.
Right.
You know, that never happens. The immune system is attacking something. Or Hashimoto's, you know. Why does a woman have Hashimoto's, right? So oftentimes, like if you look at studies, if you look at medical literature, EBV is a bucket of hundreds of conditions as presentations, and many of them are autoimmune, including celiac. There is a very specific black and white pathway. One protein can get into the infected cell's nucleus and turn on the genes of celiac if you have them. And I have cases of people that were perfectly fine with gluten, and now they have EBV and they can't even touch it. They have like full
Oh
blown.
my gosh.
Yeah, there's a few studies that, so like lupus, classic. You know, classic lupus, you couldn't have a more classic presentation. And then chronic fatigue, of course, brain fog, chronic fatigue, latent fatigue, and sometimes fibromyalgia, connective tissue disorder, you know, all that laundry list, all kind, you know, infections of the eye, 10% of stomach cancers, 10 or 15 are caused by EBV. It's oncogenic. There's more and more types of cancers that are being considered. Even they're looking at colorectal cancer. They're looking at breast cancer. There is something going on there. So autoimmunity, cancer, and then just for most people, it's just this tragic fatigue, disabling fatigue. Like really, people say, I've been hit by a truck. I can drag myself from the bed to the kitchen. That's all the energy I have. That's literally how bad it is. And brain fog is so bad, they can't finish a sentence. It's hard for them to do the program initially because they can't think. They can't remember. They stumble. It's like onset of Alzheimer's. It's really debilitating.
Yeah.
So, and then there's unusual presentations like nosebleeds or chronically low platelets, or, you know, sensitivity to mosquito bites. People get really infected, or, you know, weirdest things. But you look in the medical literature, it's there. 75% people with mono, like acute EBV, have headaches. 75%.
Okay.
You should know that. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, yeah.
And it's serious business.
It's
Like,
serious
you
business.
don't want to let it go. You do
It's
not.
serious business. Yes, because you have young professionals that can't hold on to the job. They have to move in with their parents because they can't. Yeah, it's really, yeah, you have depressed mothers, suicidal, because their spouses are taking care of their kids. They're just lying on the couch looking like a stranger, looking in, observing, because they just don't have even the energy to do anything. It's awful.
Missing out on life completely. So, I mean, in terms of why it's so critical that functional practitioners really start looking for EBV, it's everywhere and it's connected. It sounds like,
Yeah.
if I'm understanding, would you say it's a root cause that
Correct.
leads to potentially stomach cancer, that potentially leads to celiac, and I
Correct.
think you said lupus and other autoimmune disorders.
Yeah, there were studies consistently showing that surprised me. For example, 62% of Crohn's, equally with ulcerative colitis, they're tracking it down to the root cause, the initiator being EBV. It's like, what? I
Wow.
just had a woman in our social media group saying, she was screened, she had colonoscopy, they thought it was Crohn's. It wasn't. It was misdiagnosed EBV, and now she's on a protocol and doing well. It's like, what? It's really happening. Like, it's really, we have reported, and this is old numbers from like 10 years ago or so, reported 3 million cases of mono a year in the States alone. That's just reported. Many will be unreported because people don't get to the doctor, or they just think, it's flu, I'm going to lie in bed and wait.
Right.
It's a lot of people, and many people that you cannot help right now, despite your protocols and everything you're doing. These are those people.
Okay. So
These are those people.
These are the people that just don't seem to get better no matter what you do. And that in of itself is just so frustrating and sad for practitioners. And I would agree that's where that you start kind of questioning and second guessing yourself and feeling like the imposter. So that would be motivation, I would think, for a lot of folks to really get on board and start looking for it. So why do you think so many patients are falling through the cracks in medical practice?
Why isn't EBV even addressed in functional medicine? It's just not. It's just, I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
The same way, I don't know why people eat what they eat, and this country creates products that are even legal to eat. I don't know why people are not taught very basic things about eating and foods. These are questions. They're not going to wait for the answers. People are dying. I'll tell you a story that may resonate with some of our practitioners today. There's an amazing functional medical doctor in Montana. Love her. A person in my community connected me to her because she says she has a community of patients with EBV. She's trying so hard. She's frustrated. Her heart is in the right place. So we got on a Zoom and we talked. And, I explained things to her. You know what happened in that conversation? She cried.
Aww.
She cried tears of joy. And when I launched my practitioner training, she jumped in. And that was 2 years ago or so. And she's good. She's having fun. She's helping people. They're turning around. The protocols work. That's what fires me up. She was crying because she loved her patients. And there was just medical doctors rely on antiviral medications. They have very low efficacy. And I could tell stories about that. And then naturopathic doctors rely on botanical medicine, tinctures. Like, they do not move the needles. And then they add supplements, but not properly. Functional doctors dip in everything. They combine antiviral medication, some botanical, some supplements, And people say, I love my ND, I love my doctor. We've been trying for 2 years, doing different things. Like, that's the situation. People are trying.
Okay.
They dip here, try this, but you have to be really strategic every time they open their mouth. Like, if you got it, they're going to move the needle and get their life back. So that's the difference. I want to really encourage our practitioners to think big and say, you can change people's lives when there's no hope.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Gosh.
It's amazing. It's like, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's, we have group calls. Yesterday we had a monthly group call, and one of my students, Mary, said, so Mary, what's the celebration? I'm 75% better. I was able to drive 5 hours to see my son. I didn't reactivate in the car. I didn't have anxiety attacks. I did fine. She didn't even have to read my traveling module to kind of safeguard, not prevent reactivation. This is what we live for, those moments, right?
Stories. She got her life back.
Yep.
So how can a practitioner, step in and make a difference?
Use the protocol.
Can you kind of walk us through like kind of a, big picture of maybe the pillars of your protocol?
Yeah. So, and I replicate everything I do with all the resources, protocols in the practitioner training. It's all recorded. You can do it in one weekend, and Monday you go and do it. Like, you literally have everything, handouts, everything. Yeah, just do it.
You've got a practitioner training.
We do. We did it. We did it live with practitioners. Yes, everything is there. So basically, first thing you want to do is do my bundle, because it's a strategic combination of very aggressive supplements, and we titrate depending on the sensitivities people have. You go aggressive or you titrate slowly. I don't care if the process takes 2 months. That bundle will deliver forever, including reactivations that I just told you. That's what I do. 48 hours, I'm good. But that's the education part, because people have to get a win, start feeling better to do anything else. And that's like foundational. And then we'll start turning the needle. So that's the first thing that people do without any changes in lifestyle.
Okay. So is it like a supplement bundle?
Yes, it's a supplement bundle, but really like within really aggressive. Like, you have to be careful. There's contraindications, there's like
so you need training, right? Okay, so question for you. So we're talking about this bundle and this like is this an initial training?
Yes, it's the initial step that people take. They have a handout, they have journal, they have a table, they have all the ingredients, all the products, how to take it, counterindications. So, and I provide that to practitioners so they can give it to the patients. They can still sit together, go over what they have and their history with reactivity to supplements, and do they over metabolize or what, so, but it's all there. And then we move into the kitchen, because let me tell you, one junky meal can increase NF-kappa B. That was a study, 150% for 2 hours. NF-kappa B is a protein that the virus uses to replicate. The more of it, the better. So that's just simple act. Junk food, EBV. Number 2, nutritional status drops, the virus becomes virulent. Studies. Studies. So big nutritional status means a lot. The virus feeds on certain things. So you build up, kitchen resources, meals, recipes. We have like kitchen immersion project, cooking, stocking, and then there's certain food groups that functional medicine restricts needlessly. Okay. And that's a point of frustration for me, like autoimmune paleo diet. These therapeutic diets that should be short term. Okay. People stay on it forever. Can you give me an example? Legumes and whole grains, gluten-free. Yeah. Provide the bulk antioxidants, the roughage, the stool bulk. They have so much value. They're completely eliminated. Okay. Interesting. And you can become deficient in very crucial nutrients like molybdenum. Without molybdenum, you have so much more inflammation in your intestinal tract.
So
Molybdenum is grains and legumes. So
right.
functional medicine restriction, no lectins. You can't have this because you have autoimmune disorder. Not true. You can cook out lectins from legumes by pressure cooking. You can soak your grain. It's just quality and how you process it. And you know what? If you guys believe that that's how you have to handle the patients, I'll tell you from my experience. I used to do a lot of Cyrex labs, especially the panel for food set reactivities that included agglutinins, that included lectins,
Yeah.
all the anti-nutrients in grains and legumes. And I have not seen one case when all of these would flag up. In particular, there might be a patient that had black bean lectins, but nothing else.
Okay.
Or one particular lentil, but nothing else. So the concept that we are fed through functional model that you gotta clean all of that, restrict.
Yeah.
I get these patients after they've been on autoimmune pallia for months and months, and they are not better. They're actually spiraling the wrong direction. I have to do damage control. So our responsibility is to heal, to look for the root causes, so people can actually expand and have whole groups with, in their diet, not restrict necessarily. In terms of EBV, these are really valuable.
Okay. Wow. All right. So the big takeaway is you don't put people on gluten-free.
Gluten-free, yes. Yes. Whole grains, gluten-free.
Okay. Got it. Okay. It's the whole grains, but so you are an advocate of gluten-free.
You can't play with gluten because of the studies, because of that celiac link, and because American wheat is just, it's not even it's a product. It's not even a real grain. It
Okay.
causes a lot of problems in people. So it's not worth it.
All right. So would you feel the same way with the European grains and wheat?
Well, I can tell you, I don't advertise it for our community because our community very often will tell me that gluten is a no-no. But I can do very well. I don't have a problem with gluten. I can do very well with traditional spelt from an Amish community that doesn't have yeast and is traditionally, the sourdough, traditionally cultured. Yeah. It's delightful, no problem. And by the same token, I think you may be able to go to Italy and have pasta with their flour, not American flour, and be okay as long as you don't have those genes.
Right. Okay. That's the key, right? I feel like having those genes or knowing if you have those genes is like having a crystal ball, right?
Yeah. There's a great lab, Enterolab, which does, are you familiar with it? Enterolab, it's a direct to consumer. I send so many people there. It's a swab. They do panel for celiac and non-celiac gluten sensitive because there's all kinds of genes actually, apparently.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a nice thing to know. Yeah. So I think,
I was going to say, speaking of labs, can you give us an overview on, we were talking about the pillars, right?
Yeah, the pillars. So, we do a lot in the kitchen because it's foundational and it is like building bricks and walls. It is sustainable for people. And it's important for me that people have joy and the yum factor, and that the recipes are simple but delicious and loaded with antiviral quality. Anywhere we can put it. And so we have all these. We have tons of recipes. And then you move on to a full protocol with supplements. I have a full ebook on details on anything possible, because sometimes we have to go for other things, be more aggressive. There's all kinds of permutations. All of that is in module 4. When we go and complete the supplement protocol, it's like full-fledged. We move to isotonic solutions, we move to drops, we bundle things so you don't have pill fatigue. And it's just and then you really start cruising. And then after that, we moved to stress foundation, lots of support for stress, because this, if you don't learn, if you don't know how to handle that, shit will happen and you will be flat on your back again. So, and we have such a stressful lifestyle, and people are in bad relationships, bad jobs. Like, what is it? 82% of Americans hate their jobs.
Not good.
My husband's last job, his boss was so toxic. He walked into ER. He almost committed suicide and had a full, panic attack, paranoia attack, spiral with mental illness because of that toxic environment from work. And that was 11 years ago. That's what happens to people on the jobs, Yeah. So stress is huge. And then there's a complete module on sleep, because there is a very common pattern. Watch out for it. People wake up at 3 o'clock or so.
Right.
Racing heart, heat, hot flashes, anxiety, whatnot. And that's a pattern with EBV. So there's very simple things to do and so on and so forth. But that's a complete module, because some people have that problem. And then we go into toxicity. We teach people how to detoxify properly without going to extremes, without die-off, without all that shebaganon. Slow and steady, just daily tools, so they understand that everything daily needs to be cleaned and detoxified. And then we move to toxicity externally, because the virus likes to thrive on environmental toxins like mold.
Yes.
Now, that's not the only one in general, but in particular, dioxins, for example.
Okay.
So we have burning forests in the Pacific Northwest, in British Columbia, in East Washington, California. So my community is on alert, because I keep training them. Remember, dioxins are in the burning smoke.
Interesting. Okay.
And there are so many people over the years. July the 4th, we always send messages. Remember, do not inhale the firework fumes. Stay in.
Okay.
Toxins are in fireworks as well. They linger for a number of weeks. So, and people say, I was going crazy because I was doing everything right, and then out of the blue, I would reactivate. And it creates such panic and anxiety in people. And just knowing that there's always logic to this virus, you just have to understand it. Deflates that anxiety. Like, oh, I get it. It's not this monster. It's very predictable.
Yep.
It's very predictable. That's what it does. So we have to go through these stages, and then we have cheat sheets. Like, if you're reactivating, here's 2 pages of possible triggers.
Okay.
Go through these. They don't have to go through these. They know. Why are you reactivating? Okay. I know exactly why I reacted. I know exactly what happened. So we go through this. We also have I train in spirituality and joy support, because I think in that community, a lot of them are healers. A lot of them need to go back to their spirit and their soul and their heart, open that, find that outlet, reconnect with themselves. That joy, joy creates healing. The right chemicals we need.
Yes.
You can't be in joy and in stress. It's like you can't be half pregnant. You are pregnant or not. Stress is on or stress is off. And joy turns that stress off. There's no avenue for it. And joy is easy, it's just joy. It's fun. So we do that. I support that a lot. And then towards the end, at the end of the process, reactivating. If you're reactivating, remember what to do, and so that's kind of the process.
Yeah. Labs fit in.
Huh?
Where did labs fit in?
People come with labs.
From a practitioner standpoint.
I don't care about labs at this point. I've seen enough.
What about, how do practitioners identify EBV?
Oh yeah, well, initially, yes.
Okay.
But afterwards, they're not that useful for many reasons. And honestly, when people are thriving, they don't care to see. Numbers are numbers. I mean, there's 2 that will always be elevated.
Okay.
But
So
you can
like, I'm a practitioner, how do I know that my patient is struggling with this? Like, what is
have,
the diagnostic criteria that you
well,
use
the labs, we have tons of training on that.
in your program?
Yeah, and a whole chapter in the book is on that, all the medical evidence for that. But basically, there can be slight variants in presentations. There can be some unusual presentations once in a while. But most people fit into the realm of early antigen elevation during a flare-up. But only 2-3 weeks, you can miss it. So you can say, well, early antigen is normal, so your infection is only in the past. You're fine, it's not EBV. But then you look at the timeline, you look at the conditions, you look at everything the person did and didn't respond, autoimmune conditions they have,
Yeah.
match it. It's like, And then, I have a quiz from practitioners, a very, very thorough quiz for people if
Okay.
they're not sure if they may have history of EBV. And they check the boxes. So all the surprising symptoms, cancer, autoimmunity, different conditions, symptoms, all of these are listed. And so it's like, oh, shoot, I had these when I was growing up, and then this happened, and then this happened, and this happened. All these are presentations of this one darn virus. So there's two. So early antigen is iffy because you can miss it. Then VCA IgG and EBNA IgG, these are the two big ones that will remain high over your lifetime. Nothing we can do. They kind of fluctuate up and down depending if you're reactivating or not, but they're not going to bring down the level to 0. It's not expected.
Okay.
One of mine is triple digits, and I live with it, and that's what it's going to be. And right now I'm not reactivating anymore.
Good. That's great.
And then the last one, the iffy one, which is most confusing to medical doctors, is VCA IgM. This is the only IgM. And so what would be your inclination? That IgM is the one that is now. The other ones are the past.
Yeah.
Not so. Not so if you look at literature. Early antigen is IgG.
Okay.
It's not IgM. But VCA IgM, it looks like it elevates during the first infection, like you have first mono in your life or something like that. And when you reactivate, it's just not enough to show. It just doesn't. It's very, very, very rare that it's elevated every time people test, and that's highly unusual. So in chronic EBV, it's expected to be normal.
Okay.
But you can have, so it's kind of confusing, right?
It is. It is. So, I mean, I think we should talk a little bit about what the next step is for anyone that is so inclined to get some training on this topic, because clearly it's needed, right? To really help you to gain the confidence. And again, to help more people. You want to help those folks that are kind of falling in the cracks.
Yes. So, I think you can position yourself so well because you have the functional medicine background. And this is it's such a blessing, because when I have my community, they come with a bucket. And so I can maneuver with SIBO, through SIBO. I can help people identify SIBO or pernicious anemia or, hypochlorhydria or this or that everybody else misses. Lead them through it. H. pylori comes to the party. All this bucket together with EBV. We can handle this. Because EBV itself is simple. My protocol, boom, 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 you're good. Oftentimes it's the bucket. So with your experience, you primed for this. This is like, I was primed for this. We're primed for this. This is like the best. And then basically, so the way I designed it is I like to know everyone. So I have an application form and we have a call, 45 minutes. The application form asks you all the right questions. So I review it and I know your practice, I know your patients, I know your pain, I know, your dreams. I know everything about why you're coming in. for the conversation. So it's about 1 hour we talk, and then I can really strategize and explain things and kind of create a map and dream map and so on and so forth. I used to offer it free. Guess what? I was stood up by colleagues. I had no shows. So now we have to charge. So
Okay.
with this conversation, there's a fee, consultation fee. With this conversation, you can't sign up for the program, for the training, which is pre-recorded. This conversation is how we decide if it's a good fit. I can show you, I can explain things, I can tell you where to start, like how to focus for your patients population. And then within the program, you have 1 power hour with me. I recommend, like, you do, you binge consume over a weekend, because we did it over a weekend. Everything is there for life, but over the weekend. And then as soon as you finish that training, when it's fresh in your mind and you're like antsing to go, you jump on the power hour with me. And then we really strategize, because you already are saturated with information. You already have aha moments. You're already excited. And I can really bring it together and like set you up for success. That's how I work. And then you go and do your magic. So that's the way we designed it. Mm-hmm.
Is this the link? Is the link that I have on the screen? Is that where you recommend those that are interested go? leslibitel.com/EBV.
Let me see. I haven't looked at the chat.
Can you see you can't see the link I have on our screen?
No, I can't.
Okay.
It's the practitioner training.
Okay.
Is there a word practitioner in it?
Bitel/EBV.
What's that?
Lesli Bitel/EBV. I think this is
It must be
yeah, my special link.
a special link, yes.
Yeah.
Because I think we offer like a discount for your community, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So that's why we created the special link.
Yes. So we
Right.
know who you are and we can honor it. Yes. So are there any questions?
Let's see here.
They are. Question on labs. For chronic active EBV, what's the gold standard for checking labs? Yes, the 4. VCA IgM, VCA IgG, early antigen IgG, EBNA IgG. I have a patient with SIBO, hypothyroidism, and gallbladder, and she's very complex. Perfect. Letters were positive at PCR. Great question. Thank you so much for that question. PCR is useless.
Good. What a shock, right?
Yes. And you can, I have a chapter on that in the book. Literature confirms that basically PCR, think about this virus, you have to understand how the virus works. The virus, the lysing process is only when the young virions are like ready in your B cells. They've been multiplying using the DNA of your cell, making RNA. The poor B cell is infected and they're like budding. We're ready to go. And then the stress hits you. So this is like a door opening. Okay, let's reactivate. So the lysing happens, the cell bursts, the young virions spill out, and they travel in the blood. But they treat the blood as highway to get to a condo. They're looking for a condo to live in. It could be a thyroid, connective tissue, brain, a liver, spleen. It's not going to be the bloodstream. So PCR is the DNA found in the bloodstream. It's very hard to track it and catch it because it can be there for a week, 2 weeks, a couple of days, and then it's gone. It's gone.
So it's not a good option.
It's a good option in medical literature. It's a good option for the first infection, like ever in your life. But oftentimes the first ever was when you were a kid and you didn't even know it. Like you have it. Yeah. So yeah, PCR.
Great. So Marcia really resonated with the story that you shared. So thanks for sharing that, Marcia. Well, guys, we unfortunately have to wrap up. I could go on and on.
Me too.
I don't want this to end, to be honest. So, guys, my words of encouragement would be go to the site, leslibitel.com/EBV,
Take a
and
look.
check it out. And I would grab a call with Dr.
Yeah.
Kasia. I mean, guys, I will say this. If I were in clinical practice, I would be all over this because I do remember
Yeah.
it just doesn't feel good when you've got people slipping through the cracks and
Yeah.
you don't really know how to help them. This is, I think, the antidote to that. It's really a solution that's right there in your grasp. So please go. And I mean, you've got this amazing resource. I know Dr. Kasha, I mean, she lives for this, right? This is her passion. So I would take her up on that opportunity to grab a strategy call with her.
Yeah. Would love it.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Kasha, we need to do this again.
Anytime we can talk about anything. You guys come with questions. Let's
Yes.
make a list of questions and we can do like
Let's do a
5
Q&A.
minutes.
Let's do a Q&A next time. How's that sound, everybody? Good? Because it's such a great topic. So, all right. So I'm going to let you all get back to work. I know, Kasha, you've got a lot going on. All right. So, and you and I need to catch up, my friend.
Yes. Yes.
I am going to Poland for Christmas. So,
Oh
yes.
my God, it is. Oh, so good. Yeah, I have to tell you everything. Yes, so you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I actually have a call right now. So, no.